From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Overcoming adversity, it's something farmers know all too well.
I'm doing the best I can, and if I'm doing the best I can and I can't make it, so be it.
We'll meet another Top Producer of the Year finalist who has fought to keep his farm going. USDA workers accidentally fired.
This is not a one and done, good luck, goodbye.
As other budget cuts at USDA have producers on edge.
Our commitment is that if there has been commitments made, those will be honored.
What the new Secretary of Agriculture has to say about both issues here at this year's Top Producer Summit in Kansas City, right now on AgDay.
AgDay is brought to you by Pioneer. Great performance in the field makes Pioneer brand corn #1 in America. For a winning season, it's Pioneer brand corn. Your best year starts here.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths, continuing our coverage today from Top Producer Summit here in Kansas City. Now, it's been a big week here with the new Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, meeting with farmers, business leaders, and members of the Farm Journal team. Now, many producers here are concerned about how budget cuts and recent firings at the Department of Ag could impact them. AgDay's Michelle Rook joins us with the very latest. Michelle?
Clinton, thousands of employees at USDA across an array of agencies and jobs have been fired. Most were in their probationary period, but we've learned that the U.S. Forest Service fired over 2,400 employees, impacting around 10% of the agency's workforce. And even some food safety and inspection service officials working on bird flu were mistakenly fired and are now being rehired. USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins stood behind the efforts of the Department of Government Efficiency her first day on the job and again at the Top Producer Summit.
I feel confident that we will be able to solve any issues that are in front of our ag community that are potentially being compromised by the DOGE effort, while at the same time recognizing how very, very important it is.
In fact, she sees DOGE as a way to realign USDA with its mission.
So I'm really looking forward from a positive kind of on offense aspect, once we get through this initial round, to having them help us think through how to make the USDA more customer friendly and more modern.
However, Rollins also confirmed that they would protect the interests of agriculture and contracts already made.
Our commitment is that if there has been commitments made, those will be honored.
As part of DOGE, Washington insiders say funding for programs that are part of the Inflation Reduction Act will likely be targeted, but not the budget for current programs like EQIP.
If that slows down more than a day or so, I'd be amazed if Secretary Rollins isn't called up in front of the Ag Committee to, on both sides, House and Senate, not to explain herself, but to tell the committees when those checks are going to be sent.
And Truitt is not concerned about losses to essential personnel in county FSA offices or USDA meat inspectors.
I have a feeling that most of this is hype and that when it's all said and done, we're going to be fine in ag. But you know what? I may be surprised.
Farmers like Greg Mose say modernization with USDA and even food inspections is warranted, as these programs may be outdated.
You know, a lot of inspections are all done with, grading is done with cameras now. There's so much of the stuff that's being done technically that we're not used to doing that, and it's going to be moving that way because we're running out of people to do things.
And he adds the use of technology will also allow county FSA offices to streamline without compromising service. I'm Michelle Rook reporting for AgDay.
All right, thanks, Michelle. Now, some of those people who lost their jobs with USDA could be getting them back. The agency admitting several positions supporting efforts to fight avian flu were accidentally fired. The agency says it's working to swiftly rectify the situation and rescind letters sent to those employees. A spokesperson said USDA continues to prioritize a response to highly pathogenic avian influenza. Rollins also discussing that with us here at Top Producer.
Now is the process to start going back and evaluating. And I was not as involved in the initial round. I approved it, and I'll take full responsibility. But now, you know, I was talking to Senator Marshall yesterday about a lab in Kansas that had some really important people that were part of that email. And so I know the team back in Washington, led by our chief of staff and our amazing team there, are taking every one of those calls right now and reevaluating every single decision. So that is the commitment as well, that this is not a one and done, good luck, goodbye. This is all right, this was a first step. Now let's evaluate and move from there.
And you can watch Secretary Rollins' entire fireside chat from here at Top Producer on the Farm Journal YouTube channel. To help lessen the U.S. ag shortage, Turkey has launched a large-scale export operation to the U.S. The Egg Producers Central Union in Turkey is coordinating the shipment of 15,000 tons of eggs. That's equivalent to about 700 containers between now and July. However, shipping eggs across long distances requires careful landing and temperature control to maintain quality, and the U.S. has specific packaging requirements that Turkish producers must meet. Now, Turkey is among the world's top 10 egg exporters. The U.S. last imported eggs from Turkey in January of 2023. Bitter cold and snow are returning. A strengthening storm system is expected to bring hazardous weather to the central U.S., eventually reaching the mid-Atlantic coast. And those conditions could complicate recovery efforts in Kentucky, West Virginia, and Virginia, where some communities are still working to clean up from deadly floods last weekend. Roughly 3/4 of the U.S. population is expected to experience below freezing conditions by tomorrow. Meteorologist Jack Van Meter joins us, and Jack, temperatures are plunging across the central part of the country.
Taking a look at high temperatures today, so we can see the heart of the country. We're talking the northern Great Plains and Central Plains. Really cold temperatures today as cold Arctic air rushes in from Canada. We can see a high of just 9 degrees out in Omaha, 16 up in Minneapolis, and again 10 degrees over there in Bismarck. And as we can see, again, really going to be riveting actually throughout much of the country as well. Only 24 degrees as a high temp out there in Cincinnati, but it's going to cool down a lot more going into tomorrow morning. As we can see, the cold air really does kind of dig deeper, but as we can see, not by much though, just because the lows tomorrow morning are right around the same temperature as today's highs. And as we can see, pretty quickly usher out that cold and Arctic air, and more seasonably cold air moves in to fill its void. And a winter storm in Oklahoma causing dangerous conditions and crashes on the roads, including this one on the Will Rogers Turnpike near the Oklahoma-Missouri border. Luckily, only minor injuries in this one, but the semi that crashed was hauling eggs. Expensive cargo for sure right now. I'll have more in your forecast coming right up.
Could corn keep the climb going on Wednesday? We'll dig into the markets next. And later, meet another top producer finalist who has battled back several times to keep his way of life going.
AgDay is sponsored by Germinator Closing Wheels. Germinator steel closing wheels, perfected in conventional, excels in no-till. Order 12 to 16 rows today and qualify for free shipping or 20% off an end zone moisture management package.
Now, corn futures spots remain above the $5 mark midweek. AgDay's Michelle Rook is back with more in markets now.
Grains all ending lower on Wednesday. Matt Bennett is back with some analysis. And Matt, let's talk about it. New highs for the move, especially in the corn market. We saw that, and then we kind of reversed. So did we see profit taking, or did farmers do some selling up here at these levels?
It's probably a little bit of both, Michelle. You know, you came in here after the 3-day weekend on Monday night. Actually, the markets were lower. We all woke up Tuesday, and the funds stepped back in and bought, as they have several times here over the last few weeks. And you know, you come in here on Wednesday, and actually the markets looked awfully good. I mean, but the thing that is a little concerning to me, of course, is that you went up and made a new high for the move, you know, and then you settled 7 cents off the high. As far as March corn's concerned, you know, had it settled there yesterday above $5. We trade all the way up to 504.5 here today. But at the same time, you know, again, you close 7 cents off of it. So some people are going to take a look at that and say, hey, it's a new high for the move. You know, it's going to be very interesting to see how we follow this up as far as the way we end out the week.
Yeah. And we had the same thing happen in the wheat market, where we made new highs for the move. And then what was that, hedge pressure, or did we just get all of that cold weather news priced into that market?
I think we got a lot of cold weather news priced in. At the same time, this wheat market, here lately. The last couple weeks has certainly kind of been take a step higher and then kind of pull back a little bit, take another step higher. Today was a little bit more of an exaggerated step back down, but at the same time, overall, fundamentally, when you look at this world wheat situation, if they had as tough a weather in Russia as what a lot of people have suggested with the lack of snow cover, given the fact that that crop went in the dormancy in very poor shape, I've got to think that the wheat market isn't necessarily over just yet.
The bean market has been kind of a follower here, but are we also seeing some South American harvest pressure starting?
You see export inspections yesterday were just pretty much awful as far as beans were concerned. We do expect those to continue to whittle down as those beans become available in South America, but that's a very good indicator that they've got a very readily available supply. And so with that being the case, you've got to expect that it's going to provide just a little bit of pressure moving forward.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Matt Bennett with Ag Markets. Now we'll have more AgDay coming up.
Watch Markets Now with Michelle Rook on the Farm Journal YouTube channel, keeping you updated throughout the day on the markets at the open, midday, and close. Find out what moved the markets today and what to expect the market to do next.
To contact Matt Bennett at Ag Market, call 844-4AG-MARKET or visit their website at www.agmarket.net.
Here's our radar image and story for the day. We're keeping an eye on two systems that are pretty much lingering throughout much of the country. We're not looking at widespread impacts from these two systems. The first one is actually going to be out to our west, parts of Idaho and actually parts of Nevada as well. And what that's going to be bringing is some more mountain snowfall. So we're going to be seeing intense snowfall rates with that system, but again, only really impacting higher elevation areas. That second system is going to be almost the leftovers from what we saw yesterday and again into this morning. And that's going to be a snowstorm, a smaller snowstorm for that matter, that's actually in parts of Ohio currently. So as I play this in motion, we can see that the remaining energy kind of dissipates and moves out into the Atlantic Ocean. And a very similar situation is going to be happening with this, the burst of energy that's going to be moving through the mountain states. And we can see kind of runs out of moisture over parts of Colorado. So getting some nice flurries down there. Our radar image goes fairly quiet actually for much of the day on Friday, and it's not until our weekend then we start to see our next systems kind of take place, especially in the Gulf. Look at just south of Houston in Texas, starting to get some moisture coming together and moving across much of the Gulf states. We're talking Louisiana and parts of Mississippi and Alabama are looking to have a pretty wet Sunday, and also looking at another system coming ashore off the Pacific up in the Pacific Northwest states. And it's something, of course, we'll keep a fairly close eye on. Snowpack, not bad at all, especially for our mountain states, and a lot of snow, especially south for Kentucky and parts of Tennessee as well. Knightstown, Indiana, high temperature of 20 degrees and low temperature of 12 degrees. Merriman, Nebraska, 15 degrees, low of 4 degrees. And finally, North Point, Alabama, 24-15.
Keeping you updated on other news of the day, Mexico reporting another case of New World screwworm, but USDA says it will continue to import cattle from the country. It's reported the case was detected in a cow in Tabasco State. USDA has previously banned Mexican livestock shipments back in November, but lifted the restrictions on February 1st under new pre-clearance protocols. The pest, which can cause severe damage to livestock, wildlife, and occasionally humans, has raised concerns among traders, but despite the latest detection, USDA affirmed that its inspection and treatment protocols ensure safe cattle movement into the U.S. amid historically low domestic supplies. Now, happening next week, USDA's highly anticipated Ag Outlook Forum. It will give us our first look on acreage as well as the economic outlook for 2025. But how do you forecast a year where there's so much uncertainty with trade? That's exactly what we asked USDA's chief economist Seth Meyer here at Top Producer.
We will produce an outlook which is policy in place. So while there has been there's been a lot of talk about tariffs, reciprocal tariffs, Canada tariffs in Mexico. Right now we don't have anything in place. So we'll do an outlook absent that. Okay, but we are ready, we are prepared, we are building the tools, and you've seen the Secretary say it in other venues. We're making sure we have the tools in place to understand what the impact on agriculture is from such actions. So we are prepared internally to do the calculations necessary to support the Secretary of Agriculture. But when we do an outlook right now, we don't have anything in place that tariffs are actually in place. Creates a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace, but we'll do an outlook based on that.
Now, the Ag Outlook Forum starts a week from today. We will bring you all the numbers on Ag Day, on air and online. Taking risks, it's something many farmers know all too well. And another of our top producer of the year finalists has faced his fair share. How he's been able to weather the storms, next. Today we're continuing to meet the finalists for Top Producer of the Year. Our second finalist is Mark Hanna from Joyce, Iowa. And while he's focused on innovation today, when he started, there were moments he wasn't sure the farm would survive.
I press this button, it moves the cart.
Behind the wheel of this combine,
Pushing the button.
farming is still fun for Mark Hanna. Right on the cusp of the 1980s farm crisis, Hanna's rookie years were tough.
It was a horrible time. It was 1979. My grandpa Dewey, whose farm we actually bought in 1980, said he was always going to sell me that farm, even when I was little. And it came about in 1981, and a year later, the farm was worth half of what we bought it for.
Now, Hanna says farming is an occupation of risks and rewards. The risks then were high.
So the bank got concerned and said, "Boy, your equity is going backwards." I said, "Well," I said, "I have a contract, private contract with my grandpa, and as long as I make that, it really doesn't matter to you."
With interest rates at 18%, Hanna weathered that storm with help from farrow to finish sows.
Figured out they were the mortgage lifters, so I just raised as many as I could in every nook and cranny on the farm for about 5 or 6 years.
Throughout the 90s, he expanded, moving all of his hogs and pigs into an environment he could control.
By 1998, I had even my sows inside as fully confinement buildings. Turned out to be a $30,000 a month loss with no end in sight.
And in 1998 came his biggest challenge. With margins in the red and the debt mounting, he decided to take a job in town working nights.
So after 2 weeks of that, I decided, you know what? There's more important things in life. I'm doing the best I can, and if I'm doing the best I can and I can't make it, so be it.
That moment in Hanna's career is what his son Philip calls a pivotal point for the family farm.
That really stuck out to me is that he just focused on what can I do, not worry about the things that I can't control, and just focus on that.
Mark's sons Philip and Andrew are now partners in the operation, and they admire their dad's vision and ability to take risks.
I feel like for technology-wise, our biggest thing is being able to variable rate our planting, our split application of 32%, and our fertilizer in the fall. That's been huge.
They lean on technology and innovation, even moving to strip till in 2018.
They're just good people to work for. I mean, they're very innovative. They try new things like the strip till. They were the first ones in this area to make that leap, and they went head first into it, and it's really worked out good.
What may be the biggest mark of success is how Mark is investing in innovation through Ag Ventures Alliance.
We help startups in ag thrive and be successful, and we offer them a wealth of just knowledge and help to get them going.
Ag Ventures Alliance and Ag Launch now select their top 10 startups and offer advice and financial investment.
Out of that spun Ag Launch Farmers LLC, which we currently started 2 years ago. They have to put up $100,000 and pledge it to the Farmer LLC in case when they're successful, the farmers will get paid back with equity, stake in the equity in the company.
For Mark, that's one of the most rewarding parts of his job.
I love to see new innovations. We like to try the newest thing that's coming out there.
And for his sons, Mark's ability to give back and support others is part of the character he instilled in both of them.
I came out of high school wanting to be just like my dad, wanting to be a farmer like he has been in the past, and to grow with him in the future.
I hope with me and my brother, when he starts phasing out, that we're gonna continue to be on the new technology like what my dad was, and just keep on improving things on the farm.
Congratulations to Mark Hanna, a finalist for the 2025 Top Producer of the Year. And we'll meet another finalist tomorrow, as well as have more on the person named Top Producer of the Year. And that's all the time we have this morning. Thanks for watching. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day out in farm country.